G'day and welcome back to Peanut Butter Neya time. Tuning in from a very wet and rainy Hong Kong today. It's been raining all day. We have an amber rain alert. That's like our rain alert if it's coming down, which I think is just like a normal rainy day in London. But we out here with all the weather warnings. Usually if it's like an amber, then maybe it'd become a T1, T3 if there's a typhoon happening. But yeah, it is raining a lot, to be fair. Which is making for a very warm and hot Hong Kong. But it's kind of breaking through now and we're getting out of a little bit of humidity, but I'm sure it'll be humid in just a tick. Anyway. Today, I want to talk to you guys about social media. Social media. Yes, so much to say about social media. Such a big can of worms. I feel like you can skin the cat so many ways. Not that we want to skin cats, but just saying. Don't really know why. I need to find out what that, oh my gosh, I'm forgetting the word for these. What do you like, not a slang, but there's another word for it. Okay, don't worry, brain dead today. Just where that term comes from. It's called something else, but I'm just going to call it a term for now. Anyway, before I get into social media and this whole shebang and conversation, I wanted to talk to you guys about accents. So obviously I just like change the tone of my voice randomly here and there, but just for fun. I'm not trying to be anyone. But I was talking to my colleagues today at lunch and I was like, guys, what's your best accent? And I was sharing with them like, oh, I'm not really good at accents, but I feel like I kind of have an okay New York accent / I practice it. I got told it was the most terrible accent for like an American / New Yorker, and that I shouldn't try and do it again. So you can hurl all the abuse at me if you want, but it's not going to stop me from trying to get the accent. Anyway, here we go. Can I have a New York hot dog? Hot dog. Oi, give me a coffee. Give me a coffee. I am well aware it's not at its prime. It's not at its peak yet. We're getting there. But, respect the process. You were here when I started. You'll be there when I get to the top of that mountain. And I'm doing voiceovers for the New York Transit and Travel Board, if there is one of those. Sure there is, just not combined. Anyway, let's dig into the juicy stuff. Social media. All right. So before I begin delving into this, very obvious that I'm across social media very actively, a lot of different platforms. So I'm very aware that like I don't want to come across as if like I'm sitting on a high horse and I'm giving out this big speech about social media, good or bad. No. I think I just want to share my perspective on the whole shebang. I've been on it for a while and seen a lot, experienced a lot, see a lot of different types of like users and humans on social media, which is really interesting. So I just want to delve into this. And I think it's good to talk about it. I think like it needs to be spoken about more, just the influence of social media on our daily lives and recognition of like how impactful it is to the world nowadays. And the more we recognize that versus be like, oh, social media is fine, like don't worry about it, like just kind of like sweep it under the rug, the better. Okay. So I did like a pros and cons list. So I think we'll do like some positives and then negatives. Let's do positives first. So I think, I've like for myself, my journey, I've been on social media since I was year 12, which would have been when I was 17. And when I encountered social media, I was, 17. And it was like, when I say it was at the beginning, like Snapchat was a thing. We used to Snapchat each other. It'd be like, here's my almond I'm eating. Here's a cloud. And Instagram was literally like using like the hue filter or like some heavy, like the traditional Instagram filters being like, here's my school shoes and the autumn leaves. But it was just like it was just a platform to post, but no one really like took it seriously to be like, this is me, this is my life, this is my like business. Definitely wasn't like that. And so it's been super interesting, I think, especially for my age group, to watch social media evolve into how it is today, and see how it's been adopted and adapted into everybody's lives at different age groups, which I think is super interesting. And it's really interesting. But I kind of love it. I think social media is around to stay. It's always going to be around. It's the new age. It's just normal now. It's like really unusual to not have social media. But I think what we can really like talk about today, and I think I want to really have this discussion, educate on, is like really understanding like the positives and negatives and how you as an individual manage that in your life. And I think I'll get that perspective based on my own experiences, because I think that's how we do things best. So positive. I think that social media has really allowed people to become a lot more creative, in terms of bring out a different creative side of themselves. Like I think everybody has creativity within them. Everybody, like, whether it's like, you might not be super good at painting, but you might see shapes really well, right? You might not be really good at singing, but you can hear and like, you know what I mean? Like everyone has their flair within a creative realm. So I think it's been really great to see, for instance, on TikTok or Reels or YouTube, people really come out with like really special niches that they're like have really thought about and become creative with, and make that into content. And I think content's so interesting, because it is pure just creativity, right? In whatever form it is. Maybe it's like you just read books to people. Maybe you just explain like mathematics. Maybe you just explain like complex chemical formulas. You are doing that in a different and creative format, which I think is really cool. It's allowed us to evolve the way that we think and approach different tasks, learning, trying new hobbies, cooking, like so many things, which I think is really, really, really awesome. I do though recognize in saying that, I think like it has also kind of made people less creative, but I think as an overall benefit, people are more like net positive creative. Yes, people are maybe recreating the same content that they would see somebody else do, dances, voiceovers, like style of content. But okay, great. Maybe people are doing the same thing. That's fine. I think it's fine. I think people like rant about how like, oh, people are not creative anymore. I'm like, yeah, you could look at it that view, but I think also how great is it that we have so many people like using a little bit more creativity and being less like, by the book or studious, like not studious, but analytical, and not creative. I think it's great for people to tap into that in some shape or form, whether it is just a hobby or just for fun, right? It's good for people to have that release. So I think it's really good. I think it's amazing, like the business side of social media and how it has opened up so many incredible like streams of new income and revenue for individuals, right? You can come from any background. You might not have great access to education. You might not have great access to basic needs, but you would be given a phone and somehow have an idea or something interesting to show, and you can create content from that and then eventually potentially create income from that, which is amazing. I think it's allowing people to be more like versatile with how they live their lives, right? And putting the power back in the people. I think it's it's very capitalism driven still, but at least people are somewhat feel like they have the power to say, hey, this is what I want to do. This is who I want to be. This is how I want to live my life. I want to have 6 streams of income, and they can do that. So I think, social media has definitely opened up a lot of new avenues for how people can live their lives. And I think that will forever be a permanent change in society. One thing I think is really interesting that I've realized and picked up on across looking at social media, when you look at trends, you look at people engaging with content, like the diversity of followers and content that, me, myself would follow. I think that social media has really made the world a little smaller, which is not a bad thing in the sense that I feel like it's drawn more similarities across countries, people, cultures, and individuals. Yes, of course, there's like another side of the coin for everything. It has also shown like differences. But I think overall it's given like a fundamental sense of solidarity. Maybe I'm being too optimistic, of people finding similarities with each other, with interests, right? And I'm not talking about like high level, like really big, sorry, not high level, but big and complex things like politics and all that. I'm talking about just like day-to-day life, right? Like fundamental people like loving love, people liking music, people liking dance, people liking a certain type of music, people liking certain foods, people encountering like strange situations around the world, right? In social settings. Like these are like normal human things that we experience, and we're able to draw similarities with someone thousands of miles on the other side of the world to us, right? And I think that is really cool, and that's like the essence of social media in a sense. And then the other positive that I really think there is education. I kind of touched on this before, but I feel like I'm word vomiting a bit here. I'm sorry. But touched on this before about people just having a new avenues to learn things, right? So say I like to dance a little bit when I go out to clubs and like whatever, but I don't really ever like learn a specific choreography. But I really enjoy doing it, like learning videos and dances, small dances online. And it's just for fun. It's just a hobby, but it's fun. It's fun to like learn a dance and kind of gain that skill and work on it a little bit more. And then it makes you think, oh, like maybe I should go take more classes, and I can do that, right? Kind of just opening up new channels. Same thing as like food. You know, there's people who, oh, I don't really know how to cook that well. Let me look at this basic 15-minute meals, you know, foundational like baking, things like that. These are awesome things for people to learn and do within their own time, you know, without signing up for a course or without having to like go to a physical class, things that they can do as a side hobby themselves. And I think, yeah, education is a huge part of it. And that really just is helping the world blossom and the world go round, I think. So yeah, those are the things that I see as great positives in social media. And I think that those positives can really, if we can keep living into them and recognizing them, social media can just really improve and get better and better. And I feel like maybe that's just like how I see it as well, right? I see it to be a very opportunistic platform and readily available product, right? So, okay, I always remind myself that I feel like if I lost my social media today, boo-hoo. And I think I always want to feel that and believe that, right? So I can survive without that. I still have all the skills that I need to do what I want to do. And I have been able to have my education and all that, right? But if I lost the social media platform in terms of like my profile and all my followers, I'm fine with it because it's not defining me as a person, right? And I think that's the real clear definition that I think that individuals should have when they approach social media, is that it isn't the be all and end all. It's not all of you there. You have a product of yourself beyond social media. It's just a platform to represent you in some shape or form. And then the content side of it, of like learning and education, all that, perfectly fine. That should be like pretty harmless to you. You know what I mean? It's just a matter of how much time you spend doing that, which is less dangerous, I think, to then consuming it. I think it's less detrimental than feeling like it represents you as a whole purpose. So what I'm trying to say is there's two uses of social media, right? There's one side, which is like you're consuming, you're looking at things, you're learning, you're seeing whatever, right? Just seeing content. And the other side is that you are the creator of the content, you are what you post and all that, right? And I think that side can get really dangerous, which leads me to my negatives. That may have not made sense. I'm sorry. So the negative side I think of is around mental health. And I think I've seen so many different situations in this that have often concerned me. So I think, as I was saying at the start, when I encountered social media, I was 17. It was definitely not at the scale it is now. It was so chill, super modest, very like wholesome, very. Social media only started to kind of get like, on the trajectory of becoming like influencers and everything, maybe around, I want to say like 2015, 2016. But that was like early influencers who actually like, I don't know, lived in the future and somehow knew that was going to become a thing, and they really like built a profile off it. But people didn't really start getting really hard into it, I think, until like 2016, 2017, 2018. And so by that time I was like well into uni, beginning like going into work and stuff. So I feel like I had a very strong sense of identity of who I was. I had been through most of my formative years. I wasn't looking at social media as a place to define me, and seeing like all my peers on it in that sense, and feeling pressured. But I feel so concerned about kids who are like 13 nowadays and they are going onto social media, and that's their platform to like engage and interact with the rest of the world. And it's very concerning about how we slowly integrate social media into young individuals' lives, because I think it's a very, very steep hill downhill into letting it like influence your daily life, your thinking, your perception of yourself at a very fast rate. And so I think there are a few things that social media does. And honestly, like this isn't just for young people. This is for people who are my age, where like I think maybe I'm blessed in the sense that I felt a sense of, I have a strong sense of identity from a young age, that I don't feel like social media in any way has like strongly influenced that and like being groundbreaking for me as a person, right? Whereas I think that I do have friends who have the personality type where they do care a lot about what people think, and social media has really exacerbated that for them. And so I think that's the kind of people, which is most people, everyone cares what people think about them. I do too. Everyone does to some degree. But people who have an extreme inclination towards that, I'm concerned for them, because I have seen people like friends who they have like 400 followers and they have a private account that's just their friends, and they stress so much about posting a photo on social media and what people will think about them. And I think that's really interesting. And I kind of never quite get it, because I'm thinking, you're not making money from this. Like, you're not a persona on this. You're just you. All your friends who follow you know you. So why are you so concerned about what you post? And I think for people like that, Instagram, social media, really not good for them. And it's better if you just don't post. And yeah, maybe you go on every now and then and you browse, but you spend a limited amount of time on social media. Because also those people as well, I've seen have a really unhealthy relationship with comparison. So they will go on and compare themselves with, oh, that's what that person's doing. Like, that's that person I knew 5 years ago. That's what they're doing. Oh, like, and, you know, constantly putting themselves into that situation and thinking like, oh, maybe that's cool that they're doing that. I'm not doing that. Should I be doing that? It's like questioning themselves and their life decisions. Not good. Red flag, not positive for you. So those individuals as well, like I have a friend who actively deletes and re-downloads like Instagram, Xiaohongshu, like all the social media platforms, because they can't control their like screen time that they spend on that app. And I think that's really, really dangerous. And that's what I'm trying to talk about, is like that young age is a steep descent into that behavior. And I think being able to, even as adults, my friends are like also like 29, 30, even as adults not being able to control that and manage that, or struggling with that. Think about how much like a 14-year-old would struggle with that, right? Added onto their natural like puberty and their period blues times where they're unsure about who they are. They're doing a lot of self-discovery. They're you know, they've literally only had 14 years on Earth. That is concerning for me. Like and that's where I really get really, really worried and think about, just a responsibility to represent myself well on social media, so that younger generations don't ever come across my profile and feel like, oh, I'm not good enough, right? You know what I mean? And not being authentic in who I am, because I wouldn't want anyone to think like, oh, their life looks so much better when it's really not. Yeah. Okay, sorry, just taking a breath because that was a lot. But I think, yeah. What I was saying, so people who care a lot about what people think, like on a higher level than the average person, and also do a lot of comparison, social media is not for you. I'm going to say it now. Please get off of it, because it is eating up valuable time that you can be spending with friends in person, on relationships, on working towards your own goals, on just living life, eating food. Just don't do that. Don't go spend 7 hours on Instagram like a day. It's just wild. I have seen it, guys. I have seen it. So the reason I say that is because there is such a sense of false reality on social media. And this really annoys me in a sense because I don't understand people who like over edit their photos, that it's like very obvious, or edit their bodies, or also just like document a not true side of themselves for social media. And then they build this profile that is so idealistic that you're keeping up this unreal version of yourself. I do not like those sort of creators. I'm not here for it. Why do you do that? Like there's this girl that I follow who I really should unfollow. I don't know why I haven't yet. But I saw her post this. She always posts. She's very slim, very lean. She wears really cool fashion outfits. That's why I originally followed her. But she posted like a video the other day about, and she's done this like a few times, where she's showing like, oh, social media is fake. And she shows how she edits her photos and the reality versus what she actually posts. And I was kind of just like, well, then why do you do it? You know, you're literally feeding the minds of people, thinking they post on there being like, oh, I wish I looked like you, amazing body, blah, blah, blah. Not that she doesn't have all those things. It's just like, why do you feel the need to edit it further to, you know, get those likes further? And then I also feel like just because you post about it and you are public about it doesn't make it okay. It's not like she's running an account where it's like, oh, let me show you how to edit photos and pose. No, that's not what she's running. She's running like literally monetizing and making money off like fashion brands and posing and, you know, wearing certain outfits, showing off her body. So, I mean, if you actively know you're contributing a negative impact to social media and those around you on that platform, like, why are you doing that? And I feel strongly about that as well. So that's why for me, actually, I barely edit my photos. When I was younger, I used to like edit the lighting a bit, and I still will if the lighting's not very good. But in terms of me as a person, my photos are like, I think I've previously edited a few photos of myself on my body. And then after I did that, I was like, you know what? That's not okay. And everyone's done that. Everyone's done that slippery slope of they've gone into Facetune and tried it out. And yeah, no, that's not who I am. That's not who I want to be on social media and represent to others, because I truly believe be your authentic self. If you see me on YouTube, I'm super authentic. On Instagram, I usually don't really wear makeup. I'm just as I am, right? And so I think we can really recognize and play a part in how we contribute to platforms. And I think what I find really negative is this false reality and that people push onto social media, especially Instagram. And just being clear, like, just because you share it and you're like coming out and acknowledging it doesn't make it okay, right? It just means that you're actively aware that you're creating negative feelings for others that are consuming your content. Anyway, the other thing, okay, so I have a few more negatives, but my other negatives is also about actual real life connection. I feel like now, and I also do this as well, it's like, oh, girls from high school that I used to went to school with, I'm like, oh, it's so good to see that like they're doing well and like they got this job, but I actually never talked to them like in person, right? And I would respond to a story, which does make it like, there is a positive in the sense it makes it an easier gateway for you to communicate with those people without like going on Facebook Messenger and randomly messaging, right? You can actually stay up to date with their lives and see what's happening, which is a great positive. But in another way, it is a negative because we never actually connect on a real human level where you know, we won't do it maybe until it's too late, until that person might be something happens, like, or they might fall sick, or, you know, big moments that we've already missed. But had we have actually reached out and been like, hey, use it as a platform of like, hey, like, so good to see that you're doing this, let's catch up, right? And go and actually have that coffee and meet them in person and create that real person connection. I think that's really valuable. But just sitting back and always like watching from afar for people that you're not actually engaging with in real life kind of leads back to my thing of like, are you just sitting there and scrolling and comparing your life? If someone really means a lot to you, why not just connect with them in person if you have the opportunity to? Don't know, guys. I'm dropping a lot of thought bombs here. Boom, 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 boom. Thought leadership. Okay, we're taking a pause for peanut butter update. Okay, so for peanut butter this week, I wanted to shed light on a Hong Kong company. So it was actually Hong Kong's first peanut butter, like organic ground peanut butter. It's called the Nutter Company. I've had their peanut butter a few times. Really good. So they have peanut butter, almond butter. I also saw recently they have black sesame butter, which is like, I feel like there's a lot. It's kind of essentially like eating like a jimawu, which is like a tong. This is hard to explain to you if you're not Asian, but it's called tong soy, which is a Hong Kong style, Cantonese style, also eaten in the non-Hong Kong countries, of like a sweet soup. And it's a black sesame one, which is literally ground black sesame as a soup, and it's really tasty. It tastes better than it sounds. But anyway, the Nutter Company is pretty cool. Check it out. I will link them in the description below for the podcast and also the YouTube video. But yeah, support local. Thought I'd give a little shout out, and they have some cool recipes on their site as well. So go check it out. All right. Going back to social media. All right, I only have two more things to say. So I think one of the things that I think is really interesting, and I don't know if it's a negative or a positive. I would just say it's an in-betweener. And it's just more a personal view on people's like expectations of people on social media posting about like global events, social events, like political events in the world. And I think there's so much pressure on influencers and idols, public figures, super famous people to be saying something on social media, which I don't think is all. I don't disagree with it completely. I think it depends on your niche and who you are on social media, right? I think that there are instances like a fashion blogger, right? I wouldn't expect them to post anything about that because I feel like you are on this platform to create content about fashion. I don't come to you as a person to make commentary on like social events or like socioeconomic events, sociopolitical events. I just don't, right? Versus somebody who's like Trevor Noah, who already has a platform offline and then an online platform where he's very clearly vocal about this, and that's like what he talks about, right? So I think people need to be a little bit more reasonable at what they expect from people on these platforms. Like just because a fashion blogger posts and has a lot of followers doesn't mean that they're a spokesperson for a certain topic. And I think when you delve further into that, one of the negatives I would say in this area is that people are too quick to like try and educate themselves on something that they actually don't know and then try to act like they do know, right? So for instance, something that drives me crazy is the whole culture of like reposting. People just like forcibly repost about something that happens from an excerpt that they see in another site because they feel a social pressure to do it, but not necessarily because they fully understand the context of what's actually happening in that situation, right? There's been so many events like that over the last like 5 years. And I've seen people post and be like, oh, if you're not posting about this, you're not my friend. I'm removing you. It's like, that is not a rational or that's just not a rational or like logical way to go about learning about things, sharing information, and bettering those around you, right? It's better to have a conversation of like, oh, I'm really passionate about this and here's why. And these are some examples. If you don't know much, like here's where you can learn more about it. Like I like those posts where people are saying like, what's happening here? Why don't you learn more about it in XYZ? As opposed to like posting things that are making very large comments or very outlandish comments about something that people who are maybe a layman who doesn't have the same expertise in something can really confidently reshare that and repost that without with like knowing fully what they are posting. You know what I mean? So I think that people need to be very realistic about the expectations of people posting about certain events and why. Really think about like, what is the intention behind it? Why do I want them to post about it? Does it make sense for them to post about it, right? And also like stop looking to other people to see what they're saying about it. Look to yourself and understand from real information sources what's happening and form your own opinion. Just saying. So I think one of the negatives on that I would just say is that I do think sometimes social media has made people like less knowledgeable on things on a surface, like, and just know things on a surface level, right? Without taking the time to really delve into the why of what's happening and fully understanding something. And I think that's a really dangerous place to be in, because I think the fundamental of education is to really like learn and understand what is happening and why you're doing something and why something works the way it does, right? And so I think we can go to social media for high level insight, but we should take responsibility as individuals and intellects ourselves to go and find out the information and the truth elsewhere. Right. So I think my parting words here on this podcast, it has been a bit of a heavy one. I'm not sorry for it, because I think it's a good topic. But I do think social media and how you approach it is super, super subjective. And what I would say is just, I think high level tips that I would have is just like really know yourself when you're going onto a social media platform, right? Okay, you're on Instagram, you're on Snapchat, you're on YouTube. Do you really need to be on TikTok? Do you really need to also be on Xiaohongshu? Like, what is your intention of being there? What is your intention of being in all of those sites? Is it for pure entertainment? Are you there to, like, what are you observing? How much time are you spending there? I think just be very hyper aware of yourself and how you're using that platform and how it's influencing your daily life and your thought processes and engagement with people. I think also be really real with yourself. So that kind of leads into the whole, like, branches off from the awareness thing. It's just being able to recognize when you are, you know, overusing a platform or feeling like you're, I feel like maybe if you feel like it's influencing you in the wrong way or in not the best way, that's healthy for you. I think so important to take breaks. I don't really look at social media during the day, especially when I'm at work, like have just no time for it, don't really crave it, don't have my notifications turned on for social media. And I accidentally did like 3-4 years ago and I just forgot to turn it back on, and I just haven't ever done it. And it's great because I don't ever, like, I have to go into the app to see a notification, but I don't ever like, I don't get stimulated by seeing them come up on my screen. Yeah, so I think overall, if you're on social media and you actually want to give it a try, yeah, so I think another thing is that if you are actually on social media and you're trying to like build a profile and a persona on that, great, really own that and live into that. Don't half-ass it. Like, we're so in a society now where it's so okay to be like monetizing and making money off being an influencer or creating content. Do it. Be purposeful with why you're on there. At least if you're going to spend a lot of time on there, like, be purposeful and make something from it, right? Be opportunistic is how I view it. And you never know what could come from it. Like, I honestly was just posting for fun. I posted on YouTube obviously more actively, with more intention, but Instagram was just always a fun platform for me. And then I started like trying out different videos and it worked for me. And my, like, whoever thought that I would be here? Not me. Okay. Cool. So overall, yeah, just be really hyper aware and real with yourself and talk to people about it, because probably a lot of other people are going through what you're going through if you feel unsure about your relationship with social media or how it's influencing your life. Okay, I hope you guys enjoy this. I need to go eat my pho. Bye.